Producers, I issued a challenge this morning. I said, find the one defensive play that was made in this basketball game. And they said, challenge accepted. 159, 158, not a lot of blocks, but there's one of them.
All right, Cavs and Bulls, and K-Love finding a cutting Colin Sexton, who dunks all over Wendell Carter Jr. with that left hand.
Nice to see Colin Sexton growing into his own right there, throwing it down with authority, putting him on a poster right there, Nick.
All that's left of the Kyrie Irving trade.
Sixers, T-Wolves, pick and roll action. Ben Simmons getting the pass from Matisse Thybulle with a nice reverse slam.
Kenny, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he was going to dunk this. I thought he was just going to do a nice little reverse layup, but no, he stuffs it.
I thought he was going to run back out to the three-point line and then hit from deep.
That's what I wanted to see,
Of course
Jen. I think most of America wants to see if Ben Simmons has a jump shot.
Haters.
I think we already know that. All right, let's get on to the Warriors now. New season, new arena, new problems for the defending Western Conference champions. Two-time MVP Steph Curry suffered a broken hand in the team's loss to the Suns last night. Curry will have a CT scan to determine if surgery is the next step, but a timetable for his return is not yet set. Regardless, it is not good for a Warriors team with just one win on the season. Nick, is the Warriors title window shut down?
Well, that's a really interesting question. So, do I think the Warriors can compete for a championship next season? The season after is the question. Because obviously this year, they now no longer can even compete for a playoff spot. They're going to be competing for one thing, ping pong balls. Like that's how they looked with Steph. I thought they could pull themselves out of it, but without Steph, that is a wrap. I'm hesitant to say the championship window is closed for two reasons. One is the guy over my left shoulder and the guy who's coming back, the two greatest shooters ever. No problem. And the other is Bob Myers and this organization have shown an ability to stay nimble, to try to stay active as far as, hey, Giannis is free agent in a couple years. What is that draft pick going to be? And we saw Steph and Clay plus a good defense was not only good enough to win a championship, but good enough to win 73 games. What's going to hurt them, however, is Steph's older than people think. He's 31 years old. Like people talk about LeBron in year 17. LeBron is in year 17. He's 34. Steph, who it feels like he's been in the league half the amount of time as LeBron, is 31. Clay's 30 when he returns. But the elephant in the room for the Warriors, as far as is their title window open or closed, is what are they going to get out of freshly minted max player Draymond Green moving forward? Draymond Green, who's not a guy whose game you expect to age well. A guy who has made his money defensively and playmaking-wise, but if his athleticism drops 5%, because he doesn't have that much athleticism to begin with, he's not going to be able to make those rotations. He's not going to be defensive player of the year, all-NBA first-team defense guy that he was. And then what is he? We know he can't shoot. We know he's limited offensively. So if Draymond can play up to his contract over the next few years, then the title window stays open. If he can't, then they will be the same team they were before Steve Kerr got there, which is a fun team with two great shooters whose ceiling is the second round of the playoffs.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that Draymond can play up to that contract without the other pieces, that being Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I just don't think he's that type of guy. He needs those guys to be on the floor in order for him to do his job effectively. He's the dirty work type of guy, gets the rebounds, plays defense, facilitates the offense. He can be a point forward when it's necessary. We saw him do that in the postseason last year, bringing the ball up the court. But as far as their championship window being closed, I don't think it'll be closed for the reason that Nick said about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Those are two of the greatest shooters the game has ever seen. Those two guys are going to be able to shoot when they're 50 years old. I mean, these are not guys that are overly reliant on their athletic ability. So as it diminishes, they're still going to find ways to be effective just based on basketball IQ and their skill set. Now, in terms of cap flexibility for Bob Myers, I think there are some challenges because you do have those max contracts. But the fact that this team is not going to be very good, the fact that you did trade a top 20 protected first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets to bring over D'Angelo Russell, that's going to give you an asset to be able to build your team, whether you draft a guy or whether you use that pick in a future trade. So I just look at this as a situation where it's a blessing in disguise for the Warriors because they need a way to be able to acquire talent that's complementary to their core guys, bring in some younger players with fresh legs in order to supplement with the big three are bringing to the table.
And if you are out here saying that it's over, the Warriors will never compete for a title again, then whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you're out here saying anyone that's that's got Steph Curry as one of the 25 greatest players of all time is wrong. Here, Steph Curry, I mentioned he's older than you think in that he's 31 years old, but the all-time greats, of which Steph Curry, in my eyes, unquestionably is one, they continue to compete for titles, not until the very bitter end, but man, Kobe competed for until year 18. You know what I mean? And Kobe might be
He
an
dropped
outlier.
60 in his final game.
Absolutely, and obviously the team was no longer competitive at that point.
They played defense.
But there is an element of how good do you think Steph and Clay actually are? I think they are brilliant. I think that next year in a league of duos, they will strike fear in the heart of every opponent. Now, the other question is, how much did the last 5 years, particularly the last 3 years, of things being a little easy for them, change their ability to ratchet it up back when they're in the general population of the NBA? Well, we're unfortunately not going to be able to find that out till around a year from now.
That's what was my point. They spent the last couple of years just coasting through the regular season. There was never a sense of urgency until the playoffs started. It's hard to regenerate that. What you can do is go the other way. Take a break. Coming up, does Baker's brash personality outweigh his talent? We'll discuss that next on First Things First.